All right, I'll open this meeting of the select board. As usual, the first item is the pledge of allegiance. Everybody, please join in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda review. I have one thing I want to add on there, and it's just to make sure, basically, there's some concerns that I've had, and I think Nicole shares some of them same concerns, is how things, there's some things that like happened down at the Historical Society, I see Jason's here, that I was not aware of ever happening. And there was a break-in down there.
Over, not in the library, but
Right, in the,
the toll house, yep. And a break-in is probably, basically there was some damage. When Ron was president, we had made the decision to not lock that toll house. And somebody got in and dumped some ink/paint. They broke one of the windows. Most of it has been cleaned up, and the Historical Society's moving forward with repairs on that building, so.
but I guess what I think we need to look at as a board here, and jump in anytime you want, Nicole, is we have all these properties, and we're gonna even have more properties. And we're not aware of what's going on in a lot of them. And there's been some issues at the library too that have built up over the years, and I think it's because nobody knew what was going on. And we gotta get some kind of, protocols or policies in place so that, you know, because in the end, it's gonna be the select board's responsibility.
Correct. I mean, when we have to manage so many assets, making sure that we're aware of what's going on in them and making sure that we're meeting the mark for preventative maintenance as well as other things, I think is something we need to establish as a board. So there's a standard operating procedure across the land on how buildings are taken care of. You know, over the last couple of years, we've put a lot of money into our buildings and to make sure that we stay ahead of them instead of always reactive. I think it's time that we make some, you know, just guidelines on things that should be checked, reported, how regularly things should be checked, system of reporting.
No, that's not for discussion tonight, but I would really like to put that on the agenda for our next meeting. To have more, so everybody get a chance to think about this, because, you know, I think in the long run, we're gonna be able to do a better job if we're planning ahead instead of waiting for something to happen, and then when we find out, most of the time it's too damn late.
That would include an establishment of a reserve account for all these buildings.
Now, that's gonna come in on the budget discussions, and that'll be it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's all I had. Does anybody else have?
Yeah, just one quick thing, under the discussion of points raised at the special select board meeting, which I thought was a really good meeting. I'd like to add consolidation of the P&L, because we got a good set of numbers from Ballard Associates.
Yeah.
I'd like to consolidate current numbers in there because it'll probably make us look a little better.
Yeah.
Because I think there's probably some duplications in there.
Yes, and I forgot to have that added on there, but Steve, yeah, we need to get that, going and done, because I do believe it will make it even look.
I think there's some
Yeah,
improvements that
yeah.
will come as a result of it.
Anybody else? Ryan?
No, I think we got everything.
Ed?
I'm all set.
Oh, no? See this, Ed? Cause I'm always forgetting. Next agenda will be the minutes. And we have two. We have our regular meeting from September 19th. And we have the special select board meeting from the 26th. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated September 19th, 2023, and the minutes dated September 26th, 2023.
I'll second that.
all right, motion been made and seconded. Is there any corrections or additions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mine says 17th, I don't know why.
was a misprint.
The original
Oh, okay.
agenda. Thank you.
Okay, the other minutes are September 26th, special select board meeting.
She did them.
They're all
did them.
Oh, you did, okay. Now we can go to public comments for anything that is not on the agenda. Okay, then we're gonna move on to law enforcement, and we have a health officer's report, which there apparently was nothing to report in September.
That's right.
And so the next one is the Swanton Police Chief report, but he's not here yet.
No,
So
yeah.
maybe he's taking care of an emergency, I hope it's nothing serious. Swanton Animal Control report for August, seems he picked up a few dollars here, you know what I mean?
Dogs are large,
Seems there's been a lot of dogs at large lately. We follow community discussions and.
What do we do with them when they find?
Well, you can write a ticket, it's $75, but actually finding the dogs, they find them and you don't know. He either takes them home or we can lodge them up at the auxiliary garage at the highway garage. And staff there, he'll make sure they'll have food and water, and then the staff at the garage will check in with them during the daytime, make sure they're food and water, but they're not usually there very long.
I actually responded to the wastewater treatment one, and he showed up in that one later. That one was returned to the owner.
Alright, did Jim say anything about continued issues with a certain dog, or he just all random ones?
These are pretty much random ones, and you can tell the difference in the addresses.
Now-
Pretty different.
On the unlicensed dog, did he give him a fine or a warning and a time period?
He should give them a warning getting here and get the dog licensed. And also, obviously, my concern is with an unlicensed dog is that it may not be vaccinated. So that's an ongoing problem. We probably have more dogs that are unlicensed than are licensed, to be truthful. I mean, really be upfront about it. But again, due to his schedule, I haven't really been able to talk to him in depth about it, but he still wants to meet with the board and go over the ordinance, because there's we gotta adjust some of there's a waiver penalty that we have to put into the ordinance, so he will come to probably try to get him on the next select board again, but he wasn't able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had mentioned, I'd like to see like whether the warnings, if he was given warnings or, and then a follow-up, like, hey, they actually got it licensed, so they got it vaccinated, and provided proof and all that. Because right now it doesn't tell us anything.
Right.
So again, this could be one of those opportunities where we, have a report that he actually has to fill out with answering all of those questions. Not that what he isn't giving us is great, but it could be just a standardized thing that every animal control officer that works for the town of Swanton answers all those questions.
Yeah, we need to have some kind of system in place, because on these unlicensed dogs, and it is a concern if they're unvaccinated, but we got no way of following up with that if he doesn't give them a warning and report to us or
He
somebody.
comes in and sees us and checks.
He does.
Once he tells someone to come out and get registered, he'll come in the next week and see if they've registered. If they're registered, then they're fine. If they haven't, he goes back and pays them another visit, and then they usually come in and register. But usually after the first time he talks to them, they're in within 3-4 days in registering the dogs.
I'm sure most people will, but we have no way of knowing that's getting followed up on. That's the only thing. And maybe something like you're talking about might be a way of doing that. Because if people ask us questions, we can say, well, we did what we had to do or what we could do, short of going out there and shooting the dog.
Not doing that.
No.
So, all right, any other questions on the animal control report?
That's not my job.
Yep.
If not, then we'll go on to Old Town business, and we got discussions and award for the library basement grand report.
So you tabled that 2 weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
And so I'm bringing it up. We also, Christina prepared a side-by-side of the two bids. There really wasn't much difference. So been able to get this scheduled and get things going. I know if we'll get Kevin over there first, there'll be some lead time before they're able to get here anyways, but we'll get Kevin in there and we'll take a look. I also have to check with Dean to see where we can possibly drain that out too, if there's a storm drain. So that's the information, it's, I would have to, before, let's see, we had northern basements 11,244.16, and the Twin State was at 17,540.
What's the significant difference if any of these two? I looked at it and I couldn't,
There isn't.
there isn't.
No.
I didn't find any, that's why I asked if you had.
No, we went through
Right.
and
Comparison.
and both checked it and in comparison and pretty much the same.
Good job, Christina. That's easier to read.
Thank you.
I still think whatever solution we go with, or company we go with, we need to make sure that we have somebody in line to put back those finished walls and cabinets to make sure that space, that whatever the finishing is, to make sure that space is operational as soon as they do finish, so it doesn't linger.
Well, what I was gonna suggest is that, once this is done, we put it out for a request for proposals for a contractor to fix the walls, take care of, if there is mold, that has to be dealt with, fix the walls, take care of the floor, and if they're qualified to do so, and we'll get to this on that blow test, put the insulation up in the attic. But certain people can't do certain things, so that's, but we get it all done that way.
Well, I don't know, what are you guys thinking? I mean, if it looks basically the same proposal on each side, one has, big difference in money. Big difference.
You want a motion, Mr. Chair?
Well, yeah, we gotta get this moving forward.
I'd make a motion and we go with the northern basement systems for 11,244.16. A second.
All right, the motion been made to go with northern basement systems, and seconded. Is there any more discussion by the board? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, Northern. You'll have to contact them.
I'll contact
Yeah, let them know.
Who's gonna sign the contract? Do we wanna authorize Brian to sign or you to sign?
Yeah, it'd be more convenient to have Brian authorize, so somebody wants to make that motion?
Yeah.
Can we include it in this one or?
Yeah, you want to amend that motion to include authorizing Brian to sign the contract.
That would get it done.
Okay. So, with that amendment in there, second it. You'll second his amendment.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, amendments are made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I guess we'll wait to have any more discussions on this particular issue until we hear back from Kevin. Once we find out what he's got to say, then we can start looking for the people to do the work.
Yeah.
Alright, now we're down to audit and close out on leader evaporator
This
grant.
is the ongoing issue we've been having with Montpelier. Kathy is hearing this for the first time because she's been too busy collecting money for taxes. I did have a meeting via Zoom with, wherever I put it now, with the lady in Montpelier who is overseeing these grants. And she and I agreed to 6 things that if we can get them done, And then she'll allow the grant to go ahead and get closed out and it won't affect anything. And it should take about 3 weeks to get them done. And we're not talking, we need an updated policy on cash disbursements. We need an updated policy on fraud. Here we go. Okay, a policy on accounting, auditing, and reporting. Balanced budget, which budgets are balanced every year anyways. Cash receipts, petty cash, return checks, fraud prevention, fund balance reserve, and purchasing. So, pretty straightforward stuff. We got the VLCP as a guideline, and we'll just basically copy and paste and work it out. But I think probably, as I said, probably 3 weeks.
And those guidelines from the VLCD are acceptable to them?
Yeah, they're the ones that's telling us that's what we need to do.
Oh, the Vermont Leagues is telling you that's what you need?
No,
she does. She did.
Right, she says, well, the league has got all this information. And so, but I will still be, I left a message today for the auditor at A.N. Pike, who's oversees our stuff. I still want to speak to him about it too, make sure everybody's on the same page here.
Yeah.
And then once that's done, then we have other stuff. As long as it's done over the course of the next 2 years, because it'll be 2 years before the leader grant is actually officially closed now.
Yeah.
So as long as it's done by the time it's closed now.
Now, is that going to affect our ability to use that revolving loan fund?
Well, I had her, she asked how we were doing with that. I said, you tell me, I sent this stuff to you almost a year ago, looking.
Yeah.
And I said, nobody's gotten back to us. Oh, well, she was gonna get right into that. I sent it to her again, and she said that, no, that won't affect it. But they still have to give the okay. They've changed jobs and that, the typical stuff there. Yeah. And so she's gonna get back to me. And it should not affect that, because I got somebody else that's interested, which I'll talk about later.
So this may finally get done.
I hope so.
Did we ever, we ever officially adopt our loan policy?
This board did adopt
We
it
did.
prior to you coming on the board, and then that's what was sent to them to give the okay to.
I thought we made some changes. You sent that to me. and-
I sent them down the changes.
You did, okay.
But the board hasn't acted on it.
Okay, all right. So they've got to sign off on our
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah. So that's why I can update you with there.
Making progress.
Okay, we have it down here as a meeting with the representative of Cross Consultant. I assume that's the line about that. No, so nobody's here from Cross Consultant.
He thought maybe 6:30. Had to take
Okay,
his-
well anyway, maybe it's better if we go the other route then.
Yeah.
Discussion of points raised at the special select board meeting 9/26. And I want everybody to kind of bear with me here for a second. I think it's important at this point in time that the select board make a decision as to what we're gonna do in the future and have it documented and a motion made that we're gonna pursue this. This is what we're gonna do. And what I'm throwing out there as what we wanna do is that we're gonna pursue the building of a community rec center on the rec site that's been proposed by the community, the Recreation Commission at 10,000 square foot. That's our objective, that somehow we can bring this before the voters. Now, whether it gets approved or not, we don't know. Now, I'm not getting into any of the details of where, parking, actual Blake Street versus Hewitt Street. Don't care anything about that right now. I don't care what color the front door is. All I care is that the board is committed to this and that everybody in the community knows this is what we're pursuing. Because I'm a little bit concerned that some people take what we're saying as being that we're opposed to this facility, which is a further thing from the truth. It's just that we have other issues we have to be concerned about because we have, we just can't concentrate on one thing. We have to concentrate on the big picture
You're talking
here
about,
at Swan.
you want approval, and I understand, I think I know where you're coming
Yeah.
from. You want to approve the concept,
Yes,
okay, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to be done.
yeah, the details are the double, that's
So-
always
so
it
You're
is.
recommending we approve the concept of up to a 10,000 square foot building at the land owned by the village.
Yeah.
Behind the ballpark,
Yes,
okay, all right.
so if somebody wants to make a motion to that effect, we can move on to other.
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Alright, motion been made and seconded, the board will pursue this objective.
I abstain.
Discussion? Yes, before we vote, I will give the public, okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. And part of the reason you can blame it on Brian, we had a nice chat this morning. He said, come tonight, so here I am. 75 years ago, I had my first deal with taxes and buildings. My mother's taking me to Dr. Spears to get a tooth pulled. And I'm amazed when I stand there and watch them raise the boiler over the wall and drop it down into the auditorium. And I went home full of questions about taxes and all sorts, who's paying for this, and all that type of stuff. I think my father wished he'd stayed to work that night. But we had a nice chat and I learned a lot. The next time I got involved in something was another person and I were talking about some development for Swanton. Well, for one reason or another, he says to me, do you know the family? I said, no, but my mother lived next door to them as a youngster. So we called him up, we went and talked to him about a piece of property up on Spring Street. And eventually, nice development got built there and what have you. So anyway, I continued to be involved in that. And there's one thing that's come to me in the past couple of years. I've watched the Energy Commission. And I can't help but think, are there not some homes in Swanton who are pretty damn cold in the winter? Lack of insulation, lack of a good heating system and what have you. And I got thinking about it, of some other families that I've known over my years here. And there were many of them who came in, moved here, built a home, their kids went to school here, they got married here, and dad and mom eventually moved off, but they came home to be buried here in Swanton. And I'm sure that many of our families will continue to do the same thing. And I got thinking, if we're looking for a site, maybe we can look at some areas where the homes could use a lot of, where they'd be comfortable. Maybe one of those places, one of those sites, would be a darn good place to buy, to put this community center. It could probably be away from the downtown. It might not be that site at the ball field. I just don't like it. The road, the traffic that goes that road, with the line works and everything. And if we're gonna have older people and kids walking that road, that makes me nervous. Maybe we could find some place in town where there's some people who would be willing to sell if they could be remunerated enough money to buy a place and to have a better life in their old age. You know, there are other ways to get there. And
Okay, Ed,
that's all I have to say, but I just thought I'd share that with you. It would allow us to do two things: to take care of the youth and to help some of our senior citizens.
Ed, I couldn't agree with you more. And part two, what I want to talk to the board about here is, may not accomplish exactly what you're talking about, but it is. I mean, we need to do more than just this, to really, for this community to benefit from it, and for that project to be successful. But we're not gonna move it off that site, we're already committed to it.
Well, no.
But we're looking for opportunities elsewhere to provide the things that you're talking about.
And you know, some of these families that moved here, educated their kids here, buried them back here, their kids are still here.
Yep.
And have been very successful. But they have land that's sitting there doing nothing. Would they be willing to trade the land to have funnier
We're definitely gonna pursue every
community center
avenue
on
we
the side
can.
of it or something? I don't know what, but, you know, a building could be named after them. And there are some people who would probably be happy to do that, to think that their kids and their family will be remembered for years. So I'm just throwing that out as an alternative. Thank you.
Your point is well taken, and this is why I wanna bring this up to the board, because I think it is important that we're also going to look at other options in that area. We have to be committed to this. Because we've already had some discussions with, Lake Champlain Housing, we've had some discussions with the Francisco Band of the Abenakis. There's a lot of things going on in Swanton that if we can partner with the right people, we can assure that this is gonna be successful. And we have to plan for that, and we have to keep that moving forward too at the same time. And that's the other thing I would like to have to see the board commit to. So that everybody knows what's going on. You're up front. We're not just building the rec center. We know we have other issues we have to deal with, and Ed, you brought that up very well. And here's the really good part about the whole thing. There's more opportunities right now to do that than there's ever been. But we're gonna have to work at it.
So are you ready for action, or are you looking for comments? on the-
Comments or action, whatever you wanna do, and before, and in fact, we did forget to vote on the first motion.
That's what I'm doing.
So I'm gonna go back to that before it doesn't, motion, could you reread the first motion that was made?
Mr. White made a motion that the Swanton Select Board commits to build a new community rec center as designed up to 10,000 square feet, seconded by Mr. Bourgeois. Ms. Draper abstained.
Does it say on the site as proposed by the rec commission?
Community recreation center as proposed.
No, there's the site and then there's a square footage. I think they both should be in there, that's very, it's very clear.
Committee, right?
Commission.
Commission. Up to 10,000 square feet. Something environmental district, right?
Yep. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, motion carried.
Good.
So we go on to a motion that we're gonna commit ourselves to try to take advantage of any opportunities that present in the future to improve that area. And we're gonna, we've had some discussions with partners, potential partners.
Well, Is that leading into D, which is a discussion of the points that we raised?
Yes,
Okay.
that is gonna lead into that.
Okay.
And then that, when we get to that stuff, I think we need to work with the rec commission here, Betsy. Cause we gotta create a better working relationship as we go forward, where everybody knows what's going on, who's in charge of what, who's gonna report to who, all this stuff's gotta be done, cause we got a lot of stuff to do.
Okay. Well, the only question is, these are really good. They
Yep.
raise some good points.
Yeah.
Somebody's gotta coordinate this.
Yeah.
Because we've got, 18 here.
Yeah.
And there's answers coming from all over the place. So one person ought to be coordinating it. And as we develop our brochure, our work papers, they're in a central location, and there's an order and consistency too.
So what are we coordinating? I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
let's finish it, so I'd really like to see the board make a commitment that we're gonna pursue, these other things that we need to pursue. This is not
So
gonna
we're not talking about these
be,
yet.
not yet.
Okay, all right,
Once we make, if anybody wants to make, if you don't want it, that's fine, we can move on to that.
okay.
But I think it needs to be on record that, we're gonna try to do as much as we can and get as much as we can out of this project. And I'm hoping it's gonna attract some interest here in Swan and bring in more partners.
But what you're saying, Earl, is, it makes sense, but understanding there's gonna be some turns in this.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be like a blind man driving, okay?
Yeah.
We're going all over.
But if we're not committed to it, we're probably not gonna do anything.
Okay.
And that's happened before. And that's probably why we're in the situation we are now. So,
I don't think we need a motion though, right? We could just note that in the minutes, right? Because there's nothing to make a motion on.
all right, if you wanna leave it like that, that's fine with me. We can get on to the real
Yeah.
good stuff. You can sit right up here, Betsy. It's easier than looking over the chair. Now, I see the guys from Cross have already showed up. But that does bring up, this is what the whole thing is.
So
You
are we
know.
talking about coordinating the discussion points or where?
No, we're talking about, okay, now, we need to have parking, right? You don't have a parking number.
Do you want the discussion points?
Probably.
Yeah, but we're not discussing it. Right now, we're discussing a procedure so that everybody is, you know what's going on. The town and the rec commission are gonna have to work together, but there's gonna have to be contact people. Now, I'm bringing up, just as an example, parking. Do you have an exact number?
For parking spots?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so that's something that's gonna need to be addressed, right?
So now we are talking about the discussion.
I don't, no, I'm using that as an example.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, I'm not gonna, and I don't know, maybe you got time to do it, but I don't have time to be dealing with these people all day after day. I would suggest
You mean the
to
community?
the board, yes,
Oh,
that
okay.
Brian be the contact person. But the rec commission needs somebody to work with Brian.
Yeah.
So that way, if you wanna know something, you can contact that person. And if I got a concern, I can contact Brian, cause he can contact the rec person and everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
And we're all moving in one direction, even if we don't agree of what we're doing, at least we know what's going on.
So Brian will be the point of contact and then he'll delegate.
No, I'm leaving it up to the rec commission to who you want. I mean, I'm gonna throw a suggestion out here, and there's probably gonna be people concerned about it, but I think Nicole would be the ideal person. But she is on the select board too, so I don't know how you rec commissioners are gonna feel about that.
Well, I think it's a conflict. I mean, I think she'd do a great job, but we can't be having two hats, so.
I can be the point person. I don't have a problem with that. And then
Yeah, but
I'll
you're
cons-
working it during the day,
Well, we all have jobs.
okay, well, all right, but you may miss out on something if we can't get a hold of you and something has to be done.
Well,
You
are
won't-
things gonna be done immediately? I mean, even at the select board and the rec commission level, we don't do things at an immediate. We have to consult with our board.
Well, we're gonna move forward, you know, when we discuss this with him, you know, with Cross, we're gonna say we need to have some idea of what the potential for parking is there. What is guaranteed, cause we know there are some wetland, what could be possible, what's the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario? The same thing going with the entire wetland down there. Now, I don't wanna get into the delineation process yet, but at least some kind of idea of how much could be used for purposes we might use it for.
Well, and Joel was the point person for
Well,
crossing.
Joel, from what I've been told, is not gonna do it anymore.
Well, I don't think that he doesn't want to do it. I think that he wanted to be, he was the point person and he was bringing the information back to the select board, which he gave you the information that we received from the consulting firm. And I
But
don't
we
know,
need to be part of that.
you are part of the
But you-
conversation.
We gotta be careful because what's getting perceived is that sometimes the information being brought to us is only what we want to be heard. And I know that's not true,
That's not.
but we're not there to ask our own questions either. And
Well,
I
we
think
met with
a
Brian,
little bit of this came up at that meeting too.
well, cause we weren't prepared to have that conversation.
Okay, so we gotta get prepared. And, you know, it's gonna have to be done.
Because that information that we received from Cross came in on a Thursday,
Yeah.
and then you were out of town. You didn't come back till Monday. The initial meeting between you, Joel, and myself never happened before our meeting with the community. So there was a communication
But we
barrier
weren't
there.
aware that you were going down at the site for that reason.
We weren't at the site.
Well, where did you get the information from Cross's people?
The information that when Joel, you and I met, the information that we got, the three of us, he brought back to Cross, and then they
He
looked
brought
at
back the cross that we were
Because you-
considering Blake Street,
it. Exactly.
and they said, yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
where the information came from.
Alright,
And we all knew that.
alright. Well, you know, we still gotta address that issue because, I don't see one of the issues there, and this is why I'm using it as an example, as a prime example. If we have a Shelburne Limestone, I believe would participate in this project if we could do something about Buick Street. And what you need to realize is, what we all need to realize, if we can get a private partner involved with this project, that moves our grant up pretty high. Pretty high. So there might be some smaller or more expenses because we have to change it, you know, from the original proposal to Blake Street. But the benefits might be, too good to pass up.
Mr. Chair, can I get back to these?
Yes.
These 21 points? I think if we,
You weren't talking about the points.
We are, right, well, no, we're not, Steve. So right now, we want, and you wanna be the point person,
Well, I feel it's appropriate,
okay, fine, that's fine, but,
but I'm
wait a minute,
not
wait a minute, you're gonna be the point person to work with Brian.
yes.
Yeah, you're not in charge.
charge of what?
Let's keep going.
Well, it's not a matter of being in
It's not
charge.
we're doing this
Yes.
because we need to have a better line of communication.
Yes, and then we need to get things done if we're ever gonna get this before the voters.
Cause Brian reports to you.
Yeah.
And I report to the rec commission as well as the select board.
Yeah.
So that's where our lines of
And I
communication.
think there's gonna be certain things that are gonna come into play that's gonna have to be approved by the the select board, not the rec board. Okay, and when it comes to that, we'll just, you know, we'll deal with it. So, I guess if that's the way we're gonna do it, then we can start going on to the
Let's
points.
just make a
Yep.
suggestion. We got 21 points. Some of these are pretty simple. Maybe Brian and Mrs. Fournier get together and decide who's gonna take what. Divide these up, and we'll just make periodic reports to the board within the next 60 days or less as to what kind of progress we've made. And you start building a file. I mean, each one of these is a subtitle or a point. You move it, you meet it, and you move on to the next one. So let Betsy and Brian decide which ones they're gonna take and move forward.
I think that's a good idea, there's no sense of,
And everything go, I would suggest everything go through Brian so it can be coordinated back here, that's all. All your answers and stuff.
Okay, that's on this, the only things that aren't brought up on here, which is, all these are good, important things, but there's nothing in here about grants.
like a grant list.
I don't, maybe a grant list is a good thing, but I'm thinking that we may not be able to do this on our own and do it right.
Oh, so like hiring someone to help us, we did that in the past.
Like a grant writer.
So, I mean, at least you guys get together and come back, and I don't know how quick you think you can do it, maybe it'll be the first meeting in, November, is that a reasonable schedule?
I will not be here.
Okay,
You got a wedding?
So you're talking about a grant writer now?
I'm thinking, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's what I'm thinking.
You know,
I mean, I think we
What?
have,
would it be appropriate if I get, since I'm the rec department liaison, if I
yeah,
share the communication with them too?
Yeah.
Well, you are the.
Well, you can get somebody else to do it, Betsy, because we need to keep moving.
well, no, I mean, as far as going back to the grant writer, I think a lot of the grants that we're gonna see are gonna be very competitive, and having someone take that lead that has the experience to write them and the resources to do that is appropriate. I can't disagree, cause none of us are gonna have time to write a competitive grant.
And these are
And
big
we can-
ticket. It's a bit larger.
Right.
And what I'd like to see is maybe 2 or 3 different outfits that do it and, you know, and what they've done. Not
So-
what they talked about, what they've actually accomplished.
So when Brian and I get together, we can kind of put together a request, put it out
Yeah.
to the community, like we did for the land, looking for grant writers to come forward.
And the other issue is these artist renderings.
Can we just go back to the grant thing, which is really a
Yeah.
good idea? I think any grants before they're applied for though, we should approve them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If we haven't, it's part of the process.
But, I mean, it would have to be applied, the select board, these grants, I don't know if the rec commission can do, maybe you can do certain grants on your own, but probably some other grants have to be done through the town.
Since this is a town
So,
hall building,
yeah.
and the money that has to be there.
Whether you do them on your own, you don't want to do them, it's gotta be approved
Yeah.
by this board first.
Yeah, I don't think.
But I think a grant writer, and there's folks out there that do it on a commission basis, and they do a good job.
Yeah, it's gonna cost money, it's not gonna be free.
No, it's not gonna be free, but, we're gonna be in a very competitive situation, so. And we're gonna probably be asking for a lot of money. So,
They usually work on a percentage or. No, really.
oh, really?
Commission, right?
Yeah, mentioned.
So like a lawyer then. Well, we gotta do it, that's all.
That's why I'd asked that, but I don't know if she has the capacity to, Heidi. Is that something Heidi?
That'd be great.
Heidi
Yeah,
works
for-
for the village, but I don't know,
Understand.
I've reached out to Heidi and asked her to, if there was grants that came across her table that would help, you know, be appropriate for this, then, to let us know, but I haven't heard anything from her.
Well, she could be put on one of the lists of the 2 or
I mean,
3,
she could apply.
if if the villages, can do it, if they can fit it in, I don't know, they got a lot of going on too. So, that's, the grant, there was something else. Oh, yeah, we'll go back to the artist render.
Yeah, well, these gentlemen here, we did the contact that, the architect is here. When we get to that would be their
Yeah.
area of expertise, as will the parking be, because one of the
Parking,
first questions
yeah.
on the last then
Yeah.
is, how many people will that gymnasium, if it's there for an event, will that hold, and what does the fire code say for maximum occupancy? Then you figure your parking spaces from that.
We don't have significant parking anywhere in this community, so I don't wanna make the rec center the focal point for the parking issue.
No,
Yeah,
but,
but-
Cause the school doesn't have significant parking versus their fire code.
It's part of the permitting system.
it is the
process.
permit.
We're gonna have to answer these questions.
It's the DRD is gonna.
It might be difficult for that to be successful if we can't find a way to have adequate parking.
There's more there.
I mean, I just assumed that you guys had a good idea that it would be adequate, but you haven't really done much work in that area then. No,
No,
okay,
because
alright.
it was gonna be part of the process.
Yeah. So that's something we need to address, get moving on fast. That would be the first thing I'd get cross consultant engineer to do.
Well,
Well,
they're here.
Tell us.
Yeah, they're here.
So why don't we
Ask
talk with them
Yep,
instead of?
alright. So who's who?
I'm Bonnie Dell, I'm the architect of Cross Consulting Engineers.
Yeah,
And Peter Garshow, the owner.
okay.
Might be.
Hi Steve, how are you doing?
Well, we've had, been listening to this discussion, I mean, parking is an issue, we need to get some kind of handle on it without spending the whole 119,000.
I can say one thing difficult about the parking is that if it's not paved, parking is not gonna be easy to designate where you park, because people will just park anywhere they want to.
Right,
I
like,
understand that.
Without it being marked.
I understand that, so
So-
you're gonna figure on a paid parking lot,
Okay,
how much can we get in there,
okay.
okay?
Yep.
Now, was it,
well, but before we do that, we have to decide on the design and location. Because that's gonna make a difference on the parking, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
somewhat, but I mean, you're gonna have 10,000 square feet coming out of there.
Well, no, but if they said yes, like this, if it's where the Blake Street or Jewett is gonna depend on the building size and the location of the building is gonna affect the parking.
Right.
So the parking is not really the top concern.
not for you.
Well, no, not, right, we have to decide about the building before we decide where we're gonna put it.
Not necessarily, Betsy. They could do 2 or 3 different scenarios.
Which they did.
Okay. So, but they didn't do the parking with those different scenarios.
Right, we
Well,
have
can I?
that.
No.
Yeah,
No.
Can I?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So at some point, we need to decide where the direction and what kind of design you guys want, so then we can actually get into the site design, because when we get into the site design, you're gonna have your building picked, and then we'll be able to get into figuring out where we're gonna put the stormwater system, where the grading's gonna go, you know, what we need for access, and then we can get into the parking, but you can't really figure out what you have for parking until you figure out where all those other systems are gonna go.
So if we gave you 2 different, or 3 different possibilities, then you could figure the parking for each one.
Well, at some point, you know, we have a
We're not at the final stage now, we need some rough numbers here, so people have an idea.
We can give you an idea of what you have there available, but until we get into the design, and we can't really get into the design until we pick an avenue that we're going into, because if you change the design, you're kind of coming back and starting over. So unless you guys want to pay for 3 designs, you kind of got to pick one. But we can give you an idea of what you have there for land available, what we think we're going to have sort of reserved for stormwater areas and you know, the such. But at some point, you got to get into the design.
Well, we do need some solid, not solid, but at least we gotta have an idea. I mean, are we gonna only end up with 50 parking places?
Is this gonna require an Act 250 permit?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Usually the towns are exempt, but we'd have to run through that.
okay.
And a wetland standpoint, I mean, if for different uses, would we be able to use more of that land?
Wetland, you can't impact the wetlands unless you're gonna mitigate it, no matter what the use is.
Does it have the potential to be mitigated?
I would say very slim.
No matter if the uses were just like maybe parking or a field, you don't think there would be much difference there?
No, they're there to protect them, no matter what the use is.
But this is a healthy way to approach it, because we want this 10,000 square foot building. As we move through the process, we may find that there's some impediments to the size of the building because of the parking and the wetlands and I call them detention ponds and all that. So that means we may have to modify our thinking a little bit and still end up with 10,000 square feet, but maybe so much down there and so much at another location. So I think it's a good process to follow. It's gonna lead us to all kinds of different conclusions. So let's just come up with some designs, see what the restrictions are, if any, and but be willing to make some changes if we have to.
So Cross has 2 designs that
Okay.
have been given to Brian and Earl and myself and our board. I don't know if you have seen them. So if we have them create more designs, it's gonna cost us more money. They're not doing this for free, okay? So we can't just continue to spend money.
Yeah, but Betsy, we can't build something there and then only not have and find out we don't adequately address these issues up front.
But when we,
Parking is critical.
when 3 of us, when Joel, myself and you met down there,
Yeah.
that was for the 3 of us
Yeah.
to go through the area that was in. You didn't want it where it was, so we said, what's the alternative? Right?
My concern was more with Blake Street and Hewitt Street at the
Exactly.
time.
So Joel took that information back to them.
Yeah,
They created 2 designs.
Yeah.
Well, the original and then a new one.
Yeah.
So, which moved it
Yeah.
to a different location, which was gonna cost more money because of what was it, the stormwater, or
Well, the two plans that we put together are kind of in the same location, which is just below the T-ball field. And when Joel came in and asked us to look at Blake Street, that's where we kind of got into where you're going to impact so much of your land. You're going to lose a ton of parking because you have to design, you know, the vertical curves and then the slope to get that street in, to get down to that, I think it's like 10 feet.
Something like that.
It's like 10 feet. You're losing probably a lot of that rec field, that's I think the lacrosse fields. And then you're gonna lose a lot of the area where we're showing that building just to get that down there in a proper street design.
Now, what did you guys design for Jewett Street? You weren't gonna leave that present driveway as the only driveway?
We haven't designed anything, so
So you haven't designed
right
it?
now we're just giving you a couple building concepts.
Yeah.
But now that we've got two concepts, could we work with those, Pete, to see what else falls?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of,
Rather than have a third one, let's work with the two we
yeah,
have.
it's just a matter of authorizing us to kind of go to the next step,
Yeah.
Which would be,
design.
well, we have to pick a design.
So the two building plans are somewhat,
They're similar, the only
Similar
difference
area.
is one is pushed up into the bank and gives you access from the ball fields as well as access from below, whereas the other one was only access at the lower level.
And it's 2 stories, as it said.
yeah, so we provided that as sort of an alternative to the Blake Street access, so you can still access it from Blake Street, but up top, not driving down to the bottom. You'd have to go around Jewett to get to the lower level. For the majority of the parking, the majority of the rec space. But we did have a little bit up top, just so you have that access point.
I mean, that makes the most efficient use, community-wise, of the property, Blake Street, Jewett Street, to be multiple function, and also if you tuck it up as close, it's obviously gonna save more of the parking area.
But you still end up having to use Jewett Street quite heavily.
Oh, certainly for
Now-
large events,
Yes.
right?
And I just want to bring this up because it kind of surprised me the other night that there were no Jewett Street residents at that meeting. I suspect once they get more wind of this, they're probably gonna have some concerns about increasing stuff going through there. We're gonna have to deal with that too. And their concerns are legitimate.
What happens now when there's a big soccer game or lacrosse or field hockey game down below? What?
Nothing.
People park,
Yeah.
utilize the facility.
I think the
leave.
people that live on Jewett Street have experienced the amount of trucks and traffic that have gone through there. And in the 18 years I've been the chair of the board, knock on wood, we've never had any complaints. I think if we do utilize that route, we might wanna really consider some sort of pedestrian route that goes through there.
There's much room there for sidewalks. It's a tough issue because it's such a narrow street and they built everything right up to the street.
But I think there's options to put maybe pedestrian path on Blake Street to divert people into the field space to get down to the lower spot, but we'd have to make sure that we're.
Well, there's nothing you're gonna say or do that's gonna convince me that Jewett Street is the route to use into that facility. But if the majority of people wanna go forward with it that way, that's what'll happen. But I don't believe it's the best thing.
But why don't we go with the two designs, the two conceptual designs that Klaus put together? Let the process flow, and as these impediments come up, we try to knock them down, or we find we have to make some changes, but at least we can get started and give Klaus something to work with, and work on two. And all this stuff's gonna come out in the wash.
Yeah.
And we have to have labor and industry in here, Pete,
Yeah,
and wastewater,
yeah, everything else, other than that 250, you'll have, wastewater, stormwater, hopefully no wetlands, we'll stay out of the buffer and labor industry and all.
So each one of those are gonna bring up some issues that we're gonna have to deal with. It's pretty common practice. I mean, we're not gonna fight it. We're gonna have to make it work.
Yeah.
If you don't win.
And just to be clear, we're not saying that Blake Street can't be used. We're just recommending that you're losing so much of the land and then you're adding so much cost to it that it's more feasible to use the existing entrance.
How much cost, Pete?
I don't know, but I would say it's gonna be substantial. I mean, you're gonna have retaining walls to hold up the street, otherwise you're gonna lose the fields, you're gonna lose parking. You're not talking a little bit, it's gonna be in the, hundreds of thousands.
I don't know, maybe I wish I'd known that before. All right, and,
So you did know that before, the information?
no, I didn't know that there was gonna be no $200,000-300,000
Wasn't it
more
in
to
that
use
email
Blake
that
Street.
was sent
Nobody
to him?
told me that.
No, I haven't seen the number.
No, he hadn't seen no numbers. Nobody's seen any numbers. Only
Just
that
that
it was more money.
Right.
But it still doesn't change the fact that long-term, Jewett Street is not our best interest. That's just, that'll never change unless we spend a lot of money over there to fix that up and probably acquire some property.
Yeah, and we,
And maybe it's cheaper to do it. Maybe it's cheaper to try to acquire that property.
The other thing, when we look at the project at $3.5 million, 150,000 isn't a big number.
No, it
We
isn't.
wanna keep all this in perspective.
Yeah.
So if we have to spend another 150 to get the best for what we're looking for, it's not even 1% of the $3.5 million, so.
It's part of the process, and to remember, we're not starting from scratch on another piece of property. That's, easily $1.2 to $5 million savings choosing this location. So even if we have to spend a little to help design with the two different elevations, we're still ahead of the game than going somewhere else.
Oh,
Infrastructure's there, there's quite a base for the parking lot already, and when you start from scratch for those type of things, it's expensive. And just trucking in fill, I don't think that's gonna be very costly from where it is.
No.
There's plenty of fill right there.
And I think we could, that they might wanna partner with this because there's long-term benefits for them
They would.
if we don't use Jewett Street.
They've been very good to public projects in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, and this would give us a much stronger, grant application, no matter who we apply to.
So are we ready to,
Make a motion to,
hold on, before I make the motion,
Yeah.
are we ready to make a move forward authorizing Cross to work with the two drawings that we have now? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, you're talking about, they don't have anything right now on Blake Street, right?
we have the original concept, which was just a building that's kind of shown on the map in a general area in the lower parking lot. And then the second concept was a 2-story, which had access points from both Blake Street and the lower level.
Yeah.
But we don't have anything that shows an access continuing from Blake Street to access the lower level. It's more of access to the top story from Blake Street and then access to the lower story from Jewett.
It just has 2 accesses without having to.
Correct.
The lower parking lot won't have 2,
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Yep.
which makes a lot of.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me because I would think you could reduce the footprint of the building. Because if you had 2 stories, you'd have 5,000 here, 1,000 there instead of 2,000 spread out, which might help.
So there's, we gotta stay under, is it 1,000
If you
square
go
feet?
over 1,000 square feet, you have to add an elevator.
So it depends on whether or not
So
you
we're
want to have an
under that
elevator.
in the scheme that we have now.
But then again, maybe adding an elevator is such a bad thing when it gets all said and done. If we get something we want.
Yeah, it's just a cost.
Yeah,
Cost
yeah,
factor.
right. But no, David, you're absolutely right. I mean, we don't have to buy the land, but when this gets all done,
Oh, yeah.
if that area is gonna be something that we're gonna be in the future, we're gonna end up spending as much money. We just didn't have to spend it all at once. We could concentrate on the building itself.
Yeah, the multi-level
Yeah.
aspect stays on foundation
Yeah.
and roof and footprint and energy and you name it. There's a lot of benefit to that, especially on that scale of the structure.
You ready for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Well,
I am.
do you understand the ask before we move forward? Cause I don't.
Not
they need to go,
100%.
they need to, their next step is design, correct?
It is, and
We're talking preliminary design, we're not talking,
yeah, we might have to have some further discussions just to make sure that we have the right avenue of where we're going and where we're not going. Because at some point, if we're not going in a specific direction, we're gonna be spending money that could be wasted.
Well, right now, what we need is some kind of idea what this could look like. We can't, and there isn't a lot of sense of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars right now because we need voter approval when it gets all said and done. So we need something to present to the voters and whatever we might agree on or not agree on. Having more than one option is always nice. and it gives people a chance to look at things, and I think if you've already got the Jewett Street one right there, you could use the other one, the one that comes in the two-story one has the Blake Street one. Use your original proposal, then Blake Street with the two-story coming into the field.
Just to clarify though, that you're looking for them to put an egress in on the Blake Street side, not
Yeah.
just.
Yes. Jewett Street would only be an emergency, because you need one, you gotta have two ways.
I mean, in the physical and also the aesthetically pleasing advantage of having the two different type of accessible facades on two different elevations, it does enhance on two different levels, and at least from Blake Street, it won't look like it's sunken down into and hidden, so to speak, and you've gotta go down to get to it. From Blake Street, it just, you're gonna see that facade, and it's gonna be on that elevation, and keeps the scale down. And so, concerns that Ed had earlier about that not looking very good being down, and I think that would change that and bringing it closer to, and also room for probably linear parking along that curve for Champlain housing. If they will work with us, if you
Champlain, we've had some discussion.
connect to that, you'd be surprised how much you could fit in.
Yeah, perfect top and walk from that top entrance.
Well, and if you had the community type of functions up on the upper level that are smaller in aspect versus the larger recreational events, that would be for the gymnasium and that level with a more volume parking. Those things can happen at the same time, they can happen separately, and spreads it all around.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that things will happen at the same time.
Sure.
There's gonna be activities within that facility, plus baseball, little league, or whatever you want.
And the more that performs in that manner, the better and more value we get out of it, the more people see it as a true community center, rec center asset.
So you already have two designs.
Two building concepts. So we haven't.
So
done
what do
any
you
second
need?
ones.
We
So they
need
have
the
two
Blake,
buildings.
they don't have the concept, well, I need an artist rendering of both proposals.
But what he's looking for is one to be that original concept
Yeah.
with entrance on Jewett Street, and then he'd like the additional one with an entrance. He'd like to see what it looks like on Lake, having
Gotcha.
an entrance on Lake Street, including that cost of what it would cost to put that road in.
So that's, I'm hearing three different things. So the second concept that we provided you doesn't have an access road down to the lower level from Blake Street. It just has an access to the building on the top level on Blake Street. So if we want a road that goes down from Blake Street to the lower site, that's a third option.
Well, it's gonna have to be part of that.
That lower.
He'd like it to be part of the second option. I
We
think is
want
what
it
he's
to be
looking
part
for.
of the second option, not a third option.
So that's gonna change that second option because it's gonna take so much land to do that.
Yeah.
That second option's not really gonna fit there.
And you're gonna lose parking.
Well, we gotta go down the site and discuss this, because it's hard for me to believe it's gonna change it that dramatically. That it can't be done, and especially if we're gonna go with 2 stories, and what we're gonna save there, we don't end up being not a very little net loss, even if there is some.
So you don't wanna do anything until you go and meet with them in the site.
Well, I don't know, I mean, they can go ahead and do it, on paper, I guess, but
Well, I know, but I think they'd like.
I can't get there this week.
But I think they'd like an idea of what we're looking for before they start working on something and we're spending more money and it's not what you want.
Well, it's very clear, Betsy. Blake Street entrance, 2-story facility, it's proposal 2, proposal 1 is the one you had, that you first made,
I have the stick.
that you brought here.
We have plans on a flash drive if we want to throw it on TV. It might be helpful to
Yeah, just look at it.
just to make sure
Yeah.
it's clear. I'm still not 100% clear.
So I don't know who's,
I don't either.
It should come up.
That is.
Yeah, don't have to share.
That's
I have to plug it into, so I have to go into Zoom.
More than likely you do. She has to make you the host. You can share your screen. It's probably the easiest way. If there's a spot up there to plug it
There should
in.
be a spot there.
But I've never used that before.
Computers in the back.
But I can give you the Zoom link if that's the quickest way.
I'll be able to just click on it on the website.
Should I have something out of there? We're taking a nap. What do you do with all the good stuff?
I did.
That's the good stuff.
Those are the best things.
Do you think, how's it going to share it?
Well, we'll find out.
It should come up on the screen.
Yeah, he's not gonna be able to control it.
I still think you should log in and do it from the computer.
I
That
think
way
it's
the
up here.
folks from Zoom get to see it on the screen as well.
That's all this fruit. That's one of the options.
Pete, we can't make that work, we'll just go up to the table and we can look at it.
Yeah.
Might as well start with that.
So just, so just so we're following,
Yeah.
Thank you.
so Vaughn, this is option 2, correct? Correct. Yeah, so this is the second option, which has this area here is the 2-story, so that's the access point
Yeah.
from Lake Street. We were envisioning, you have some parking here and connectivity somehow here. How it ends up being,
So, if you put this over here a little bit, you get your road down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
so
Now-
we can move this a little bit, we can't move it all the way over here.
No, not all the way, no. I was
Yeah, we
thinking
don't have
about,
the elevation
Yeah.
to get our stormwater
Yeah,
system
yeah.
to daylight before we get into the wetlands. So that's one of the issues is, as we go this way,
Yeah.
we're getting so low.
but you can go more that way.
We
Then
go a
it-
little
then-
bit, I would
yeah.
imagine, but it's not a
Okay.
lot.
Okay. That would be the option 2 with the road down in here, then option 1 would be, you must have one like this with the way you had it originally done. Right?
This is off Jewett Street.
I know.
This is the Blake Street
Yeah,
one.
but this is not the proposal that you recommended.
This is proposal 2.
This is-
This is proposal
This is
2,
Right.
okay? So where's 1? So those would be the 2 proposals.
The one was here, right?
Right.
Like this building's right,
Tucked up in.
yeah.
So you don't have proposal 1 here tonight, you know?
I don't know if we have.
Yeah,
No.
okay, yeah, okay.
Why is it just me? It looks like there's quite a bit of parking. Or is it just my?
No, there's a good amount of parking
There's
down there.
a good amount right there. I mean,
Well,
just
and
from
I
that
think
picture.
Two things over here can be reorganized if
Right.
parking is really a concern to have off flow parking. You know, there's no reason that this can't be, designed if parking becomes an issue over here, or there is a small entrance on this side of the basketball court to utilize this as extra off flow parking, which we've done for other events in the past.
Your parking extends way down into the
Yeah,
shadows of the trees.
Right.
It's big. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's a little bit more overgrown than the gravel up top, but
We've been
you
cutting it
extend
back.
all the way down, pretty much to the buffer of the wetlands right now. You're right at the limits.
imagine.
So you have a pretty rough idea what the square footage of the parking area would be? So
I don't
you-
have it on top of my head.
I know,
Get it
but you
quickly,
can, right, so you could come up with a number.
We can give you, I mean,
Based on,
we can take the area here now.
Yeah.
Throw some line stripe, what would be typical line striping, and come up with a number relatively quickly if nothing's impacted.
Yeah.
So you don't really know if you move this over if it's gonna work because of your
We won't know,
lines.
we won't know.
Elevation.
Cause you can't go this low. You have to stay above this line.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, it's gonna drive into wetlands.
so even,
The issue is, it's gonna be a gravel wetland design for stormwater, because almost 99% of the projects are in our area. And you have to have so much depth, and then you have to discharge your pipe, so once we get so deep, we can't discharge it anymore because it's so flat, once you get down this end of the site, so we just gotta be able to discharge that.
no, I mean, you got pretty much, you could try to move this one, what you think you can, and put the driveway here, that's option 2. Option 1 would be the other one that you didn't bring tonight.
So I think what he's saying, he wants you to modify this one,
Yeah.
instead of adding a third one, just
Yeah.
modify this one.
Just modify this
To see
one.
if you can sneak an access from Blake
And
Street.
meet all the things that you're talking about, the stormwater and all that.
Okay, so, and we can do that, it's fine, but I just wanna be upfront, that's a lot of work in two different directions, so there's gonna be more money cost to the town, and one of them is gonna be scrapped, so, and it's totally fine to do, but we just need to be upfront that you are spending that money to go
Why don't
two
you tell us how
different
much,
directions.
why don't you tell us how much it would cost, Pete?
I can, yeah.
And then we can make that
Yep.
determination.
But you already got the other one done anyways, the only one
We
you
don't
got.
have either of them done, we just have this building
Concept.
footprint shown on a map.
Yeah.
So we've spent very little money to do
Yeah,
anything. yet.
okay.
Yeah, this is just a simple site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, without any real.
Well, we're still not going much above a simple site plan, because we don't have voter approval to do this project at this point in time, so we're not gonna spend a full contracted amount.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is what you're asking for is a pretty good ask. So we are gonna get into some real money. And what we'll do is we can kind of look at it and say, maybe we can make a recommendation, let's get to this point on both sites and this is what it's gonna cost, and then you guys can decide.
Yeah, I think he puts together a cost and then we decide what way we wanna move.
So, you,
We can't move with both, right? I
So-
mean, cause we can't really afford
There's
it.
no point in doing that, one's gonna get,
At some, I mean, again, it's a financial decision on the town's part of, if you go down both avenues, there's gonna be one that's gonna be,
Right.
you know, what's the value to that? Is it the value of finding out that you don't like it is valuable and worth it to you guys? That's a choice you can make, but at some point,
Okay.
you're not gonna wanna design both
Just
projects
insurance.
because only one of them's
Yeah,
gonna
we're gonna
go.
go with one at the end,
Yeah,
and then we'll focus on that.
so let me kind of chew on it a little bit and see if there's, maybe we can go, you know, to a certain step both directions, and then you guys can decide if that, you know, the cost to do that is palatable or not.
Sure.
alright, that's a good approach, and you can get ahold of Brian when you get the numbers, and, he can get ahold of, Betsy, and then let the board know, and, no later than our next meeting, I would hope we'd have, you think you'd have something ready?
Do you think that maybe we should sit down and talk with them before we come to the meeting?
Well, he's gonna give us a number of the dollar amount.
Right, can we all look at it together?
Yeah,
Before we meet, as a public
well,
meeting?
I guess so, I mean, we can do it at the meeting, at our next select board meeting, if we have the numbers.
Well, I think the answer, the question is for Brian though, I think it's a great idea to have a little preview of this. But if we bring
Yeah.
everybody in, then we have to warn it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's just a consideration.
Yeah, we'd have to wait
Which is
until our
fine.
next meeting or schedule a special, one or the other.
Yeah, which is fine.
And our next meeting is, will be
17th.
the 17th.
You mean 100?
That, for the next meeting, I can give you the numbers, but I'm not gonna be able to.
Yeah.
into the designs.
Right.
Well, you don't wanna do the
We-
designs
No,
anyway.
no, we want the numbers
Right, no.
first, yeah.
And we're talking numbers for the design.
Correct.
Right.
Or at least to get us an artist render, okay? I know it's not gonna be ready for a permit application or anything like that, but not at this point in time. but
Now,
at
what
least
you're
an idea.
asking for, I think that's a final stage, right? The rendering? I mean,
Well,
that's,
we can do renderings on the best knowledge that we have now,
That's right.
which is gonna change as we
Yeah.
get into the design, so
what it's gonna cost.
you're sort of chasing tail a little bit until you.
But you do have something to look at, and people might wanna see some idea of what.
Yeah, Vaughn can work up a rendering of the buildings, as they sit now, with the knowledge we have now.
Oh, that's what we need. That would be nice to have, so we could put some around town, so people, you know, so we can create the interest we need to get people involved and participating in this, you know?
Okay, so we want, so the price that I'm gonna give is the two different renderings. Not site design. Okay.
Well,
As long as it shows the area around it. If you're just gonna show a building off by itself, without what it's really gonna look like down here, but you can't do that, you can't go on and get one of them big ortho photos and pop that building in there.
Well, you can kind of on a quick site study type of thing, But, you know, so I was just talking to Peter earlier about a little bit. And so listening to everybody's different concerns, it might, you know, be worthwhile just to quickly do another one of these site plans. But with a little more thought about those other concerns we were talking about that everybody's worried about with fields and whatnot. And so with the 2-level, that saves, you know, and depending on where you put this. And so if this driveway was here and you had this, but we had talked about this a long time ago about the advantage of if we lose this field and this is cut into this field and you have the 2 different access levels, then you've got parking, you've got a lot of different things going on. With access to all the infrastructure that's up there on Blake Street, and still have all the benefits of this. And this whole area here, like where he starts to talk about where we can't go, where we can go. If this was, it looked a little bit quicker at just a quick study and took this area here, showed it was here. Or if you want to relocate some of this, so you can shuffle some expansion. What's the wish list? Is it possible for this fringe or this buffer zone right here? What are we allowed to do and not to do? And that would take too much time to figure out. And you can see the benefits of some of that. And placing it's really important because it's a big investment. But at the same time, I do see this just shuffling around lightly. You
It's
see the
another
solutions there
huge added expense
for
to move fields.
how much is it to really build a field?
Well,
Relocate all of those fields?
No. This
Oh,
was-
just
this
to build
net-
another field.
This is the T-ball field. We
That's not
never
T-ball.
used to be there.
But that's not
It's a
T-ball.
it's a full-size field.
Yeah, we don't have T-ball fields.
Yeah,
That's a
or-
farming field.
It's a farmland.
Yeah. So, I mean, not the, you know,
Not the whole.
right.
Oh.
well, anyway,
You're totally misunderstanding what I'm
I
trying to
was
say.
like, whoa.
Is back in the day, this
Yeah.
never used to exist.
I think this discussion's gonna have to go on again, but I
Yeah.
tell you, we need to,
Yeah,
I mean,
if it's
can you
half
give
cut
us-
into there, half cut
Yeah.
into there, you've
Yeah.
got all that, and then you've got more parking, and you've got all these types of things, and 2 levels of, you know, and maybe this is the formal paving, and then this is just left the gravel parking, and we don't have to
I
spend
think
too
we're
much
going
on
a little
that.
too far here.
yeah, we're going a little bit too far right now, yeah.
Let's get,
Well, it's not if everybody's hung up on where the stuff is gonna go, and if you can actually see that it could possibly be somewhere, it solves a lot of it. So to do a quick site study again, look at it, and then people can see the advantage of those things, and it starts to eliminate the concerns that everybody keeps cropping up with, and you solve
But I would ask,
those questions.
you do more of these with what he's talking about addressed down here?
I can. The only thing I'll add, and just popped in my head every time I'm talking to Nick in my office, the more redevelopment we do here, the better for stormwater design. So if we're up here, it's you're outside of your development, that's new impervious. So you're gonna add to your stormwater size. Doesn't mean it's not, the trade-off's not better still, but it's something to consider.
Sure. But overall, if it solves a lot of the headaches and it makes it more usable, more accessible, more functionable, based on form and function, and take advantage of the 2 different elevations.
Peter, when you give us your number, you're gonna give us your personal, or your company recommendations?
We can give you, yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is, we'll provide you numbers to do renderings. I might even bring Connor back in and say, you know, let's give a gut check on the cost estimating that we did of each one, so that we're giving you something to think about versus just 2 pictures.
Yeah.
So I think I'll re-engage them in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of like when you go to, you buy a piece of property, where can you put your house? It gives you this little,
Yeah.
and we look at the whole thing, what's developable, you know, not for hardscape structure, but, you know, green space and fields or whatnot for the future.
So you will get us them numbers and now, I guess, I don't know if we can do it before our next meeting.
No,
So I'm assuming we'll do it on
because I
the,
need to get my award on there.
yeah, okay, all right, okay.
And we meet on the 16th,
Yeah.
so that's not gonna give me a lot of, like,
Okay,
that's
all
just
right,
honor.
but,
And I'm gone.
no, our next meeting is the 17th. Our next select board meeting is the 17th.
Right, but he needs time to get us I mean, that's only a week away.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean,
Well, no,
think
it's
with-
Well, today's the 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
Could you think you'd have some dollar numbers by then?
I can get my stuff done, but I think as I said, I think if I bring Connor back in, who's already kind of done some estimating for the town, I think I'd like to meet them and maybe put our heads together. I'm still trying to package in my head what I'm gonna provide you guys.
Yeah, let's not move
So-
too quickly. Maybe we gotta look at this in November. I mean, we gotta give Peter and his group a chance
Yeah.
to do their homework.
Well, and he may have questions for us
Right.
because
Yeah,
he might leave here tonight and be like, wait, is this really what they want? Because
So let's look at November.
we can be a little confusing, can't we?
It's rattling around in there, it's gonna settle somewhere.
Does it show that we've never done this?
Right?
Well, in all fairness, this is big, it's gonna have lasting implications, and,
Right, so
you know,
let's
there's
do
been
it.
plenty of projects done. I won't mention one that was done by truck consultant engineer, but, you know, afterwards, there were issues, you know, maybe if it had got dressed up front, it would have been a better project.
So I
It
guess
happens to the best of us.
the communication, can it just go to Brian?
Yeah.
You have his email address? And then he'll do his end of distributing the information. So yeah, I'm not here the first,
The 7th.
the 5th through the 11th
Yeah.
of November.
Okay, so maybe we can schedule some more of this on our second meeting in November, on the
21st.
21st. Maybe that might be a more realistic line, that's about 6 weeks away.
And also, Mr. Chair, just I'm bringing this up now, the individuals from VHB who was here to talk about exit 21
Yeah,
would like to have a second meeting, a public hearing on that, joint with the village. And so I'm agreeable to, I think we should be a joint
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
is fine.
yeah.
But that would be also that same time, mid-November, probably, just so when Bill's gonna get back with them and check with us. So just, there could be another meeting in there.
okay. Well, we'll fit it in.
Yeah.
We'll fit it in, one way or the other. We'll get it in.
Yeah, so if you have questions also that you're kind of not clear on, just
Yeah.
email Brian.
Okay.
He's gonna be our point of
And I'll
contact
try to
moving
be,
forward
I'll
right
get
now.
confirmation from them. Okay. I'm a little bit befogged, which honestly, right now I am, but I still have.
I think what we'll do is Bond and I will kind of maybe set a summary of action and then you guys can see if you agree with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
so the board is committed to this project, we're going forward to this way, Brian's the contact man, and we're gonna wait to hear back from them, so we do have some kind of plan. The other thing that's gonna be worked on is the grant process, okay, whatever information,
Right,
because,
when Brian and
Yeah.
I meet.
yeah.
Yeah, so Brian and I are gonna meet about the discussion points and who's gonna address what and, put together a grant writer
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, so we can get, eventually, hopefully, get somebody on board here in the near future.
You guys don't work on Monday? Or do you?
Yeah, we do,
we're working on Monday. Okay.
but I'm not working.
Oh, okay.
What's Monday?
Indigenous People Day.
What?
Indigenous People Day.
Columbus.
Oh, the old Columbus Day, that changed? Okay.
No, the town never took that.
Oh, okay.
The village
We don't
takes
take
it,
that
but the
day.
town doesn't, because of the
Tax
taxes
season.
coming in. But I'm taking a vacation.
Good for you.
I told him to take the whole week for the record.
Well, yeah, but this, I'm trying 4 days,
Well, just let me know when you want to, after 3:30.
after 3:30.
All right, now, this, oh hell, Betsy left.
I'm right here.
I thought I saw you get up. Anyway, Steve, you might as well be here for this too, because Steve, this is when we're gonna get into that.
Well, look, I think we've got a good set of operating numbers. I've never seen your budget. I'm going to, at some point.
Oh.
So let's take the numbers that we have for your operation and let's consolidate them into the numbers that Ken put together. And I don't, you shouldn't be doing this. We should get a third party to do it for us like we have original strike. Put the numbers together and see what it looks like. I think we're gonna see some savings there.
Oh, because you think there's an overlap.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we gave them all those numbers from our, so there might be a little bit of.
Yeah, but there's things like you look in the report, there's no, the director's salary, and the full-time salaries are not included because they're already there. Most of the additional salaries he put in there were for new employees because of the extra work. So that's what you're talking about, is getting, and then probably some of the income you're making there is not included in there either.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So
Yeah, the income, our current income's
Yeah.
not included.
And I don't believe your current expenses are
No,
either, so.
so we should get, maybe you can get a quote from Price or somebody to see what they would, it's not a big task, but it's gotta be a disciplined task, and consolidate these numbers.
yeah, why can't we have the feasibility study person?
Well, if he
do
can
it?
do it, I asked Brian to contact him to see if he can do it.
I mean, that would make more sense, at least
He
he's
won't do it.
familiar.
No, he's
He
not.
won't do it, that's not his
He
job.
won't,
It was not his area of
Yeah,
expertise.
we tried to get him to do that quite some time
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I don't know how Paisha's gonna be able to do it
Well,
either.
Price is a professional accounting firm.
Right,
So I want them to have their CPA eyes on this, because this is what we're gonna go back to the taxpayers, the voters with, these total numbers. And so let's have an independent party do this phase for us too, and then we can just move forward.
Well, should the board make a motion to authorize, Brian to, contact P.E.G.
Price,
Price?
and Price, yeah.
Yep.
And see
to
if
get
they
this
can-
done?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
somebody,
shouldn't we know a cost before we make a
Yeah,
motion to
Yeah, of
know?
course we will, yeah.
I gotta call him anyways.
well, I was gonna delay it till our next meeting then.
That's fine, we got
Okay,
time.
alright,
But I just
Think
wanna
that's
make sure we
all.
go forward with
Okay.
a really good all-inclusive set of numbers.
alright, we'll wait till, Brian will have that information for the next meeting, the price and, we'll go from there.
and then you just have to let us know what they need from us,
Yeah, I would say probably
just
just
our budget.
the budget, which we
I
might
would
get
say
pulled out of the
budget,
counter.
yeah.
I would think, but I'll ask him.
Well, maybe last year's budget, cause well, I don't know, we'll figure it out.
Well,
But his numbers for the operating budget of the facility versus 2 years down the road, so they're gonna have to, that's where their expertise will come in.
but you've got expenses now from last year.
Yeah, it's all in our budget.
Yeah.
That's all it needs, is what you budgeted, I can't
We
believe
should
it.
try it out, probably.
Yeah,
While we're on this, how often do we see your, what we call it, operating budget to plan? Do we ever see that?
when they
Yeah.
present it to us from.
Okay, do we ever see it on an interim basis to see where you are? Should we? I think,
No, because the voters vote for money to go to the elected permits, and once it goes to the elected permit, it's their money.
Yeah.
It's just like when we used to do the library, like we give money to the rescue squad, they don't come in, the fire department doesn't come in, because once the voters approve that money
but
to
we
go
have no
to
idea,
them.
we have no idea what's going on in any.
Well, yeah, we have monthly board meetings, and our budget is part of our.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering, so,
Oh, yeah.
so we can see that. So we don't see any, once the money, you gotta help me there, once the money is handed over to these other departments,
Right,
they just run it, they run with it.
right, because the voters vote for them to get that money.
Okay.
It's not money we're holding and dispersing, it's
Oh, I
money that's
understand that.
allocated to them through
But
the
who's
vote.
ultimately responsible for that?
When they get voted on. But they're responsible when they get their budget to spend the money the way they presented their budget to us with their expenses,
Okay,
which they come to us every December and give us their
I
budget.
understand that.
But once they get it, it'd be like, we give the money to, the fire department gets money, the rescue squad gets money, the library gets
But who's
money.
ultimately responsible at the end of the day for those dollars?
They are,
Not us.
no. Because
Really?
once it's voted to give them, the voters give them the money, once it's voted, approved by the voters, it's their money.
Really?
But we have someone that takes care of our books and does all that. We don't do that. We create the budget and we have revenue and expenditure that we follow. And each line item, whenever we spend money, it's taken out of a specific line item.
And they,
Yeah.
and every purchase we goes through the board
Yeah.
before we make purchases. It's not
Yeah.
just
I
making
mean,
charges on the charge count.
Okay, I just, thank you, that helps me.
Everything's documented.
Yeah, because it just seems.
Because
really
we're
strange.
audited too, through the town. The town auditor audits us also.
The town, the internal or external?
No, external.
External?
Yeah, we're audited quite often. Same as the town.
It is a system that's worked fine because there's, you know, we always had good people in there.
Well, yeah, I'm
Not
Well, it's
you
not-
do bad things.
well, it's
But I think what we have to keep in mind here now is that that might not be the best system to work with what's gonna be happening.
Well, when you do
Yeah.
a grant, that's a whole different. that's
No,
a-
not grant, I'm talking running that facility and all that, that maybe not be the same as what we've been doing. Because it's gonna be more critical to the dollars, and, you know, things. I think there's gonna be more responsibility by the board because it's another town facility. So you gotta make sure, you know, I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna run the freaking programs, but we gotta make sure that that thing is cash flow.
Well, we present our budget to you every year, so
I
you
know,
know what
I know what your budget is,
I
but
think we're
during the
talking-
course of the year, I'm
But
talking.
I think you're way ahead of yourself, and I
Yeah.
think that's something that
Yeah.
can come into a
Right.
memorandum of
That's
understanding.
right,
When a facility's erected and when an operating plan is put into
that's right,
place.
that's right, because the present system works fine for what we're doing, but now we're expanding up, you know, that would have to be considered, but that's the future.
Correct.
Gold right. Okay, so that should be it for the rec tonight.
I hope so.
Everybody's all set? Okay,
Thanks, guys
thank you.
and ladies.
Have a good evening.
Okay, Newtown business, and I'll let you do this, Steve, you were there.
Pardon, sir?
You're on, our meeting with the,
Yeah, First of all, I think it's really great for the Abenaki group to have received $500,000. It shows that they must have put together a pretty competitive request. And so I was talking with Earl, and I said, well, you know, is this a time for us to start looking at partnering with them? Think how strong a grant might be if it's from the town and the Abenaki Nation. And if I'm not saying that right, excuse me, I don't know what the title is. So we went and talked to the chief, just to say, just kind of, you know, first of all, good job. Should we pursue some joint ventures? We don't even know what they are. Should we file a joint application for funding? So we gave her everything that we presented to the public at the meeting, and she's gonna take it to the tribal council, am I correct in saying?
Yeah, it's,
Okay, and see if they have an interest in talking to us about something further. So we're meeting with the council next week, I think, maybe.
had she notified?
She hasn't notified me, but she gave me some dates, yeah.
Yeah, Thursday, I thought they
Thursday,
met.
next Thursday.
Yeah.
So you're meeting with Tribal or McQuam? Because McQuam is a 501(c)(3) that does all the grants.
Yeah.
The nonprofit.
We're letting her decide that. We just, I mean, it says we'd like to meet with whoever we're gonna meet with, or who we should meet with. So, I think it's something worth pursuing. Who knows? Because they're building, you're on the council?
I'm on McQuam board.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're building a community rec center, is that my understanding?
It's a community center for activities and stuff like that that
Okay.
the Abenaki put on.
Specific to the tribe, is that correct?
Majority.
Yeah. So
Majority of it.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's, you know, it's not going to be. I mean, I'm sure it'll be open to the public, but it will limited.
So if that's the case, is there something we can do together? So we don't have two buildings and both applying for grants?
Yeah, it's not very. I mean, it's a garage, so it's not very big.
Okay, well,
So we do already partner on a lot of things in between the rec center and the library.
Sure.
We've really created, I think, a harmonious relationship with the Abenaki partners to provide free programming, which is something that they've been very helpful in doing, and we allow them to use our space because right now they currently don't have the space to do so. And I think, you know, continuing forward, I always think that partnership should be there. They're a very valuable part of the community and
So what we're thinking of, maybe we can expand it. Maybe, the chief said that when they hold some community projects, there's just not enough room or community functions. So let's just go forward and see if there's some commonality that we could both share and both meet our goals.
Yeah, I think one of the things I took away is that they'd be interested in providing more services for the community if there was a place to do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe we can work together to find a place which makes our project even better. And I think we ought to leave that at that for now because it really was, it was just
Just an introductory,
introductory.
just an introductory thing.
Community and economic development.
Well, could I just
Whoops.
say something before we get, late this afternoon, I received word from Michelle Monroe, who works for
Yep.
Senator Peter Welch. And the senator is gonna be in town on Friday.
This
And-
Friday?
Yeah, I don't have I don't know what time, so he's gonna go down to the wildlife refuge and then he's gonna go over to the Abenaki tribal headquarters and tour the facilities. Well, I'm not able to go, so I'm not working and I had plans for Friday to be in Burlington. But if you'd like, if somebody from the,
Are we invited?
well, I can have you invited, I've told her I'm not able to make it, but check with the board and see.
Yeah, we probably ought to have somebody, you Adrian up there pretty quick, Cody.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Well, if they're
And you-
storing the Abenaki headquarters.
You know what time it's
No,
scheduled?
I'll have to get you the time.
Yeah, give me the time, I might be able to
Okay.
do something. Are you
said this
interested in
Friday?
that, Nicole?
This Friday.
Yeah, just shoot me a time and so I can just let
Shoot
them know.
Nicole time too, because,
Okay.
what about you, Ed?
I could go.
Steve? I mean, the more we have from the board there, the better. I mean, it's not an official meeting, but.
Well, no, you gotta warn me.
Oh.
I mean, I can do it.
Oh, right, even if we're not discussing,
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, you gotta warn me.
so if we go to a barbecue all together?
So you're gonna have 2 minutes.
Well, you better warn it right off, just in case.
Right.
If nobody shows up, it's no big deal.
Well, don't you think we ought to check with the leadership to see if it's okay if we have a mass attendance?
What Michelle say, just invited you?
It was just me, and I said, well, I wasn't able to, but I'll just email her. and see.
Well, all right, find out and let us know. Yeah.
More, you know, several of the board, if not the entire board, may be interested in coming. If that's what it says.
Peter Welch might not run for re-election, so he may not want a big crowd. Because they don't know if he's gonna run again.
Well, I won't get it. You know,
All right, now we move on to community and economic development. There probably ain't a lot other than the fact that we're gonna have to start at some point in time here, get going back on that southern road section.
that, and I do have a meeting tomorrow afternoon with an individual who's going to look at starting a new business in town, here in the village.
Okay.
So, I won't give too many
Yeah,
details,
no.
but we'll see what he, they recently moved in, they have a house in the village, and, they're wanting to start a business here.
Let's hope for the best. Highway department, now you have that big meeting with the village on the, tomorrow.
9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Down on Brooklyn Street, we're gonna be right to the scene. Tyler Billingsley will be there, Kevin will be there, I'll be there, and then Dean and whoever else in the village will be there to figure this out.
Is the proposed solution gonna be brought up,
Oh,
or?
yeah, I think so. And the village is gonna pay for their portion out of the grant and aids program, is the last I knew, and we can pay for it out of next year's grant and aids program. Because it is filtering water away from.
Yeah.
So, it'll probably be involving, without talking to Tyler, but putting in a culvert under Brooklyn Street, and then feeding it down.
What are they trying to drain? The houses?
Right now, there's a storm drain in the middle between two houses.
Okay, no,
Okay, but it's not a storm sewer, it's one that uses sewer. And that's bringing all the debris
Clocking it.
and clogging things up, so that's, they just found out about this summer, so.
Mr. Chair,
Okay,
I
yeah,
did want to share with you under highway that, the village was out there today and they cleaned up that culvert there.
They did.
Maple Grove,
okay,
along with
and,
our guys.
and they might be a little bit behind on the road mowing because the tractor did break down, but my understanding is they're back on the road, so they should be able to clean. I know they've done some areas, they've done an outstanding job this year,
Yep.
cleaning that brush back.
I feel like I've seen them hauling sand a lot too.
Yeah, well, I'm sure
Prepping
they're
for-
getting
They're
ready.
filling the Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Salt.
prepping.
All right, is there any other necessary business? If not, then we do have to go into executive session to discuss a real estate issue. Whoops. Oh, public comment.
You guys already do the library thing issue there?
Yeah, we bid on, we took the basement, northern basement,
Okay.
and then we still got some other issues to address there. No pipe hanging out of the ceiling.
I'm sure.
But that's what we're gonna do there. So we do have a reason for executive session, but,
Yes,
and just real estate,
no, personnel.
personnel too, okay?
Although I would suggest we do the real estate first.
Yeah, we will.
Barney,
We will. So who wants to make the motion?
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential real estate information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We enter executive session.
I'll second that.
All right, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are in executive session.
Okay.